he's got goals.
13. So
Against the clock, it really didn't matter.
When early summer arrives in Hamburg, it's derby time. Top sport, great emotions, and unforgettable moments await. Watch it live on Clip My Horse TV.
Well, hello there and a very warm welcome to you wherever you may be watching from around the world to this edition of the Clip My Horse TV in and out studio. This weekend, we bring you an absolute summer kickoff when it comes to the world of show jumping. We find ourselves in Hamburg for the Dressage and Show Jumping Derby Show. What a spectacle it is, and today's feature class here on the In and Out show is, of course, Longines Grand Prix of Hamburg. 50 starters will come forward and we've got so much to talk about. I'm not on my own in the studio to talk all about it and dive into what's going to be happening in this mega class today. Here beside me is a lady we have dragged in from the United States. We've managed to haul her back. Hannah Robson, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It's fantastic to be back. Really excited for today's competition and really happy to be back in the studio.
Yeah, it's so lovely to have you. We know you've been out in the wild, you know, getting around there in the United States. This is a fantastic show. We're about to kick things off. We're on grass, which is super exciting. It really feels like show jumping at its finest.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so exciting when we then move into these, as Hamburg as well. This is one that's so important in Germany, but so important in Europe generally as well. It's so prestigious. And again, as you say, one of these first big events on grass, it really kicks off the summer.
It certainly does. Let's bring you up to speed. If you're new to this event and want to with 4 fast facts. We've been changing the name of this actual little segment of 4 fast fun facts, 4 fast furious facts. Gosh, it could be anything. Let's learn a little bit more about this show then. What do we know? Of course, it is the 94th edition of Hamburg's iconic jumping and dressage derby. Of course, that is all taking place there. It's one of the world's toughest and most historic jumping courses. Of course, it was the inspiration behind the British show jumping derby, which takes place in June. The derby course has remained largely unchanged since 1920, Hannah, as you said, historic certainly and steeped in tradition. And over 90,000 spectators are expected to attend over the course of the weekend. So we know equestrian fans are certainly flocking to this show and they really, really do love it and hold it in high esteem. Another lady who is super excited to be at this show this week. She's gone on a pilgrimage over there. She's having a wonderful time. She has had to sort of take on the elements a little bit, and that is Frankie Reed-Warrilow. She's our reporter out there. Frankie, give us a little bit of the energy of this show. How are you finding things there in Hamburg?
Hi, Amy. Hi, guys. Thank you very much for having me. Well, I've got to start because behind me at the moment is the prize giving for the 4-star 1m50 class that just happened. And I've been really surprised by the excitement of the spectators, club, children who are in there presenting the prizes. And I mean, it's atmosphere for the feature class that is coming up next, of course, the 5-star Grand Prix. Also, what's been really interesting here in Hamburg, it's my first time here, and I was quite surprised at how rural the city can feel, because it is actually the 2nd biggest city here in Germany, but it feels like it's in amongst a forest, and it's really beautiful, and I think that gives quite a nice personality to the show. And makes the horses feel a little bit at home also. The other thing to take note of is the fact that there's only one main ring, this huge ring you can see behind me, which means that all of the riders who bring their horses here to compete, whether it's the 7 or 8-year-olds in the young horse classes, there was also, they all warm up in the way into the main arena. So, you know, it's an amazing place to be. All the riders are super excited. They've been here since Wednesday. You know, it's a 5-day show, lots of riders, lots of horses jumping different classes and getting a feel for it. And as I heard you mention, it's one of the first shows this summer on grass. Ian O'Connor quote in one of his press conferences that the horses are feeling a little bit fresh. So that's something to bear in mind as we watch the class later on. Finally, the stadium is absolutely packed. There is literally not a piece of grass that you can see. So I think as the spectators all pull in ready for this 5-star class, it's going to be a really, really exciting show.
Super stuff there, Frank. Thank you so much. She's having a wonderful time there, really getting a feel. Now, you'll know Frankie is a very, very experienced eventing rider. So the old 5-day show, not unfamiliar to her. The grass, not unfamiliar to her. But, of course, it is an absolute spectacle, this show. Frankie did talk, Hannah, a lot about this venue, and we've talked about the history and how iconic it is. We actually can take a look at it from the sky, which is what Frankie was talking about there. It has such a rural feel, treed, beautiful area, that beautiful river Elbe. I'm trying to get my pronunciation correct because otherwise I'm in big trouble with the boss. Flowing there. It is a beautiful city to behold, and what an amazing venue, over 100 years in the making of that amazing equestrian show.
And I think the fact that, as Frankie was saying, it's one main arena there. I really love those sorts of venues where there's one real focal point. You know, in some other places people can kind of go to different rings, but they've all got that focus on the main arena. I think there were some young horses in there earlier on today, maybe. And really special to have them on the same stage, literally, as the real stars.
A look at our venue in focus.
Features both elite level dressage and show jumping, and it brings in thousands of enthusiastic equestrians. But they are all eagerly awaiting the 2 feature classes at the weekend, the Longines 5-star Grand Prix and also the unique German show jumping Derby. This historic venue is in the north of Germany, and it's been running for more than 100 years. It's so prestigious that it encourages the world's best horse and rider combinations, and it is famous throughout Europe. As for the Derby, its 106-year history speaks for itself. This is where dreams are made and hopes are dashed. In the world of show jumping, contesting the Derby is the ultimate challenge for horse and rider combinations. This is the first opportunity this summer for combinations to prove themselves on grass. Being in the heart of the city, the atmosphere transcends throughout this beautiful showground. The importance of the 5-star Grand Prix cannot be underestimated for German show jumping, particularly considering the World Equestrian Games is being held in Germany in just a couple of months. This famous arena is where legends and legacy are created.
Well, she is 100% correct. Legacy is created. What an incredible show. Of course, Hannah, we're going to talk a lot today about this Longines Grand 1.60 m. But of course, I think of the weekend, the traditional favourite is the Derby. It takes a special horse and a special rider class like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. You know, you look at, you mentioned Hickstead earlier as well, but we're used to seeing quite technical tracks in a sand ring. The surface certainly has an impact. Things like the bank, you know, it really takes a certain type of horse to be able to manage something like that. They really need a lot of balance as well as the technical capability and, of course, the scope to clear the fences as well. But I think having that element of balance and a slight cross-country feel in an arena is definitely something else. Derby specialist horses, so it should be a really good one tomorrow. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's right. It's that balance, it's that technicality, it's also that little element of being quite bold, isn't it? So that's where that sort of slightly eventing feeling comes. Of a Derby specialist, a person who is something of a Derby specialist because it's in his backyard is the rider David Simpson, and this is the horse, he won the qualifier this week with Piotr van der Kruishoeven, and this horse is a Derby specialist because he won the Hickstead Derby on this. It's just an 8-year-old, I believe, and they have taken the qualifying class. We're going to take a look at their winning round now.
David Simpson and Piotr van der Kruishoeven. See how that lane crossing just really impacts their approach and their preparation for that in and out across the field. They need to jump the Irish bank with this experienced Derby horse. Potter recently runner-up in a 6-bar competition at Bourg-en-Bresse in France. It stays in place. At the Fieldstone wall, it hasn't looked like he's worked as hard as Guy Williams, but overall I think he is faster. Guy was certainly scrubbing along to go for the pace. This has been very, very smooth, and he is more than 2 seconds faster. 93.21 it was for Guy Williams. David Simpson in 90.82 goes into the lead, and that is one of our very, very few Derby winning combinations to be here. Very few Derby winning combinations to be here represented in the starting field of this competition, and they make that experience count. Piotr van der Kruishoeven and David Simpson out in front of the Hamburg second Derby qualifier.
Super stuff there from David Simpson, and what a lovely horse Piotr is. His connections will be thrilled with that and thrilled to see how they show tomorrow afternoon, of course. Now, there's a series of qualifiers throughout the week for the main class on Sunday, and as you could hear John Kyle, our commentator there, talking us through, they do have some options when they come into that second qualifier about what they jump and what they don't need to jump. They do need to jump that Irish bank at least once in the run-up to the main show on Sunday. Now, this is a great story, Hannah. We love a great story here on the In and Out show, and you and I have already had a giggle at this, so we're letting you in on the topic. David did win that class, and the prize for winning that qualifying class was a Harley Davidson. Now, when I said it was a Harley Davidson, Hannah said, "I'm sorry, I don't think I heard you correctly."
I thought she was talking about the horse, Harley Davidson the horse, but no, an actual motorbike.
An actual big old hog that he won, and there's the pictures of him enjoying that Harley Davidson that he got to enjoy. Be very, very careful of David Simpson roaming around the streets of Hamburg on his brand new Harley Davidson. Couldn't have been a happier man in Hamburg last night, I don't think.
Really, yeah.
Incredible stuff. So that was wonderful stuff, actually, that we saw, and many more winners coming out of the course of this week as well. We want to talk about Thursday's class now. That is the Championat, another very big class, and another big key win for an important rider who has made the decision to be in Hamburg, and that's
consistent. He's actually the highest ranked in terms of his world ranking in the field today, and another strong performance probably set again today. But you know, even though it's one of the qualifying competitions, those are really big classes, and it looked from earlier in the week that he was thrilled with that great start.
being round now.
Just tracking Jens out of the ring. Yeah, back up the top of the ring here with Keano. It's going to take quite some doing, I think, to beat Edward Schmitz and Gamine here on 45-47. Irish riders necessarily would feel that they're on the horses to try for it today. And in a moment, Max Watchman. Keane does love coming to Germany this time of the year. He's been a great supporter over the years of the Pfingstturnier at Wiesbaden as well. 45.20. Actually, this is going to be pretty good. Keane O'Connor, 45.20. 45.47 was Edouard Schmidt's leading time. 45.20 for Keane O'Connor.
Yeah, so it's been a super week of show jumping there, Hannah, in Hamburg, of course, and some superstars of the game actually out and about. We want to turn our attention now then to our feature class today because it is a big bad boy. It's the Grand Prix of Hamburg. 50 combinations come forward for this one. Our colleagues at Equeratings have dug in and they have been doing some of the analysis for us, and we want to talk a little bit about it. I think the best place to start is probably to have a look at the previous winners, because it goes without saying that Germany have absolutely dominated this class so far. But first, before we do that, I'm getting carried away, getting excited. Let's give you 4 facts about this class in particular, this Grand Prix. Let's take a little look at those then. Of course, it's one of the event's headline show jumping competitions. It takes place on the Saturday. We actually commented before, wasn't it? It was unusual to be enjoying a Grand Prix on a Saturday because usually we'd see them on a Sunday, but that Derby competition taking place tomorrow, of course. International top riders compete for world ranking points in this class. So they are crucial, particularly in a year like 2026. Now, the class features demanding technical fences. As always in a Grand Prix, the maximum height is 1.60 metre. So it is the biggest and the most challenging you are going to get in the sport of show jumping. And it's considered a highlight of Germany's outdoor equestrian season. And why not? What an absolute spectacle in an incredible venue with a huge crowd who all know this sport, who are passionate about this sport. So plenty to come. You myself and got excited because I was then now at the previous winners. Equeratings have put together the data for us. Of course, you can see there, I mean, it's a veritable who's who, Han.
Oh, it really is. What an unbelievable list that is. You know, you look at the likes of Gerrit Nieberg only a few years ago, of course, Ben 4-3 won a horse that has subsequently moved on, but what an unbelievable partnership they had. It's a serious list. Christian Ahlmann won it for the 3rd time in 2025, and then you go back to 2016, Ludger Beerbaum there. Also names like Kent Farrington on the list. So these are top of your world ranking riders. These are legends of the sport. Rolf Göran Bengtsson as well. These are really the cream of the crop. Interesting year to pull out there as well in 2021, just the one clear for Harry Smolders to get his 2nd win. Quite a unique one, but I think perhaps we may see more than one today.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd be certainly hoping that we will. The one clear meaning no jump off, but we love a jump off and we'd really like to see one in Hamburg today. Of course, as I said, Equeratings diving into that analysis for us. Let's have a look then at what they are saying is the likelihood in terms of the numbers, how many will make it. The predicted jump off number, we're saying 10, but you never know. You can have a surprise at things like this.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we pulled out that previous year with only the one, but also, you know, you look there at 2011, just 4. So not too many then either. You know, 15 in 2012, and it's really difficult to say, isn't it? You know, some of these horses will be used to this environment, they'll be used to this kind of arena, so they'll be perhaps a little bit more on the front foot in terms of qualifying for the jump off, but there are a few newer horses here, some newer combinations, so they'll 19 clears. So sometimes you do get these huge numbers. It'll be interesting to see how this goes, but 10 is the number from Equeratings there.
Right on the point, 10. Now, talking of an interesting previous winner, Christian Ahlmann, the most recent winner to have a double win. He 2022 and 2025. He's our sort of reigning title holder, if you will. We're going to have a look at his winning round from last year.
Durkan Hero Z now. 10-year-old by Don't Touch TG Hero. Christian with a confident start too. strong through the first few. 42.13 leading time. Like all of them, has to take care through here. Now he can unleash. Now he can go. And he could well be quicker here. He's got the lead. He's got the lead. 40.99. And Christian Allman, last to go, will be the winner of the Longines Grand Prix of Hamburg. It's Christian 1 and 2. Christian Allman at the #1 spot. Christian Kukuk in second. And Peter Fredriksson of Sweden taking third, but saving the finest till last. They have been a really impressive combination to see already this year. And again, add yet another, but their 5-star Grand Prix success now coming on home ground in Hamburg for Germany's Christian Allman and Durkan Hero Z. #1 spot, well done to them. Star of a horse and home win. Big thumbs up to a huge...
Absolute superstar of the sport. It is always nice to see him putting on a show out there. We've got Frankie down on the ground there. She wants to bring us up to speed with what looks like the riders are walking the course. Everything's getting set for this big class. And Frankie, I know the weather has had a lot to say for itself in Hamburg this week. How have you found it?
Yeah, Amy, the weather has certainly been challenging, not just for me, but for everybody here, whether it's been the spectators, the riders or the horses. 1 minute it feels like summer, the next minute it's autumn, and then suddenly it's January. I've had to chop and change my outfits a few times, and the rain, when it has come, has been really heavy, really big, heavy downpours. But every single time I come back out and venture into the dry, I've been pleasantly surprised at how well the grass arena is holding up. Something else that's quite interesting to note that you might not always see on the TV, and if you haven't been here before, is that the arena is not flat. It's obviously purpose-built, but it very much has a bit of an incline to it. Where we're stationed here is at the in gate, and this would be the lowest part of the arena. The highest part is up in the top corner. And something else as well, that the whole ring is completely surrounded by spectators, so there isn't a moment where horses and riders get a chance to breathe. How the weather has also had an impact on the horses and riders is that they're constantly thinking about their tack and their studs. And even in the warm-up yesterday, I was watching riders and grooms change plan halfway through a class, deciding, now we need to change the studs. The horses need a little bit more grip or a bit less grip. And, you know, that is something that, in terms of the team around the riders, they have to be so prepared and ready for. Another thing that's been really nice to see as a spectator, somebody on the outside, is how supportive the riders are of each other. There's quite a big Irish contingent here, and actually all the Irish riders supporting each other, whether they are part of the same stables or not. And this class this afternoon is the biggest class that you can contend, 1.60 meters. And whilst they're obviously all competing for a massive prize pot, they all also recognise the challenges and how difficult it is and how epic it is if you manage to get one of those clear rounds. Just moving on to that as I try to wrap up, because as we said, the riders are in the middle of walking the course. Throughout the week, the time has been really influential across all of the classes. And there have been quite a few clears, but not always clears inside the time. So I think in this class in particular, it's going to be quite important that the riders are able to balance being able to prepare the horses for the challenge, but also riding tight enough lines. And I think, talking about that, it's the first time on grass this year. These arenas are a lot bigger than sand arenas, and that's where you can waste time as a rider. So I think watch out for the time, and let's see how the sport unfolds.
Yeah, good stuff. Thank you, Frankie. And really good insight there. This is the kind of insight that you can only get when you're standing on the side of the arena, having a look at those things. And so nice to see it from I'll spit it out in a minute, the perspective of a rider as well. It's great for Frankie to be eyes on there, talking about how that surface looks like it's riding, the fact that there's undulation there, and talking about that throughout the week there's been challenges in terms of going clear inside the time hangar. That is really, really interesting because we want to dig back into some more analysis now from Equiratings, and we are actually going to talk about the clear chances because this is one of my favourite parts to talk about. We can certainly take a look at those numbers there. And this is an incredible story that sits right at the top that we want to talk about. This man, we haven't mentioned him yet today so far. He's going to have a really interesting weekend. He is in this class, but tomorrow the spotlight will really be on him, and that's Andre Thiemer and DSP Shira'aa here with a 44% clear chance.
Yeah, I think he's a real home hero as well, but 44% is a pretty huge clear chance actually in terms of the actual number, especially when you consider all the different factors with the setting as well and that kind of arena. So he deckled across his recent competitions in particular, but of course quite an established partnership. Looking a little bit further down then, Marlon Madola Zanatelli there with Dorette OLD, 38% for them. Also had some really good form this season, and this mare has become really reliable as well at this level, and this is one that Marlon is riding during Jana Varga's maternity leave, so a ride of hers and now Marlon in the saddle. Emily Conter as well, another top 250 rider on the list. She's there at 36%, and again very consistent at the 5-star level. A couple of others to pull out, you know, Marcus Enning and Flower Girl, they've been around for quite a while now as well, and you can see that 31%, that's their consistency level in this rank of those top clear chances with Kentucky TN, so not the horse that he won with on Thursday, but this one has become very, very strong for him as well. He's performed well with this one over in the States, and 30% again is actually still a really good number. So when you look at that list, we wouldn't necessarily expect 30% to be quite so far down, but these riders are so impressive, or these combinations I should say, are so impressive. Those are the kinds of numbers we're seeing.
Yes, and that's a really good point to remember too. When we're looking at those clear chances, this is per combination, isn't it? So this is the horse and the rider together competing at this level, and how consistent they are, and considering how many classes they will have jumped together at that level as well. Knowing that then with the clear chances, it's important to then have a look at the ones on form, because these are the combinations now that bring the form into this competition today. This, of course, Grand Prix, this 5-star Grand Prix. And that man we spoke a little bit about earlier, he's a 2-time winner here. He won it in 2022, won it again in 2025, the reigning champion then. Applebridge Tag Z, Christian Ahlmann, the clear rate there, an incredible 100%. Now, the thing to remember is that this particular combination have only jumped 2 rounds at this level. It is the highest level, but at this level, they've jumped 2 rounds at this level, both of them clear. This gives them this fantastic clear rate of 100%.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing to pull out, because, you know, you can see a lot of these other horses, you know, look at Portobello van der Frietkopf with Emily Conter, 28 rounds at this level, so certainly has more experience, but that 2 for 2 at this level, that certainly shows the potential, the talent that this horse has, and of course with Christian Ahlmann in the saddle, you've got a pretty high chance in any case. And then looking a little bit further down, these are, you know, some of the top combinations in the world. Andre Thiemer there pulls out again. Also the Japanese rider Eiken Sato with Chadayano, the one to watch, also clear 2/3 of the time essentially. Very strong strike rate for them. Of course, the horse was previously with an Italian rider and had quite a lot of success, but also another one to watch. Sometimes a little bit of a dark horse actually. You often see him go quite well, and I think he was second in one of the competitions at the World Cup finals. So very much not necessarily one that's currently among the big names have an eye on.
Yeah, for certain, that is absolutely sure. And another one to keep an eye on is Jana Friederike Meyer Zimmermann, not only because her name is the most beautiful name that God ever gave, but just because of her, as you said, her impressive sort of stats. But the other thing is too, to remember with Applebridge Tag Z for Christian Ahlmann, just a 9-year-old, so very, very young in its career in terms of this level, the top level of the sport. We spoke about this man. He certainly is going to be the feature of the weekend. Andre Thiemer, he actually goes into this class today as the favourite as well. DSP Shira'aa is his ride. The 2023 Rolex Grand Prix of Aachen winner. Now that is no mean feat. Another fantastic competition on the grass. Had a year off in 2025, started at this year to help Germany win that LLN in Ocala. Another big showstopper. Just a fantastic career for these two as a combination.
Yeah, very much so. You know, they've got some huge kind of names in terms of competitions on their CV. You mentioned that LLN of Ocala as well. You know, the quality's always been there. They had a little bit of a break, and then the Aachen win. Everybody wants to win that Grand Prix. You know, it really takes so much doing, so much riding, so much pressure actually on the rider. Huge atmosphere for the horses. So I think to be able to perform on those really big stages says a lot as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Andre, no stranger to this stage, almost like a home ground, you would say, for him. Obviously winning that Grand Prix with Paul S last year. So, I mean, the Derby last year. So very exciting to see what he might be able to do over the course of the weekend. Now, someone you mentioned before, which has been a fantastic story that came out of the World Cup finals that we saw there in Texas, was Aiken Sato. This Japanese rider, lovely, lovely human being, had some fantastic form in the World Cup finals. He was second on under the big lights in Texas. Did make the decision not to jump at the end of the competition because the pony was poorly. The horsey had what we would technically say is a tummy ache. It's a little bit of a colic, but it's very, very serious when it comes to horses, and for the well-being of the horse, decided not to jump on those final days. They're the winners of the Grand Prix in Helsinki, and they are, in fact, it's the highest ranked Japanese horse combination to go sort of in and around the sport of show jumping at the moment. So incredible stuff for this superstar on the rise, and we're very, very lucky to say he is our rider in focus today.
So I got him like 4 years ago. I was in the Shokemele, and somehow Paul organized to ride him for federation, and yeah, somehow like really, really happy he gave it a chance to like him, you know, to ride. He's jumping already World Championship with the Formula rider Emanuele Camilli, Italian rider, husband from Vivian Shokemele. So then I know exactly what I need, and he tell me exactly what I have to do. So that's already good start, you know. So I'm very happy. We decided he not compete the final, but that moment was one of my hardest decisions to say I don't compete, you know. But for sure, good for, I really believe, good for horse, what we doing to decided to don't compete. So that's why he's here, you know. For me, a lot of go out, even just eat grass and not stay, okay, important stay in the box for sure. But me and the groom decided always try to much as possible go out, because then a little bit calm down. So that's I think sometimes I ride him 2 times a day, you know, just for hack, a little bit walking. I think good for him. So feeling in Hamburg is like amazing show and big arena and beautiful grass, and you know, always public is so many. Then I think like country like this sport, you know. So I think help for horse for sure rider, you know. So one of the best show for me. Of course, I love to win, but first to see how horse, and I love to make clear. Then we see jump off, we see what we can do.
Lovely to hear from Aiken Sato there. Now, Han, we were just disappointed that you couldn't speak to him yourself.
Oh, I know. We could have done a live interview. Could have, you know, asked him a couple of questions in Japanese.
For those of you at home who don't know, Hannah does speak Japanese. Have a go, Hannah. We love it.
One day we will.
One day. We've spoken about him. He is the reigning champion in this class. He's won it twice before. I mean, there's nothing much to say. We're going to cross to Frankie now, who is with Christian Allman.
Hi Christian, thank you so much for joining us. I actually just stole you away from walking the course. Have you managed to walk all of it yet?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
With those long legs, you were quick.
No, that was quick, yes. No, I walked everything.
What's your first impressions?
We have a big Grand Prix today.
Yeah.
14 numbers, open water, big plank just behind. Very late, the triple away from the entrance. No, actually for my young horse, it's really big today.
They were saying in the studio that your horse is one of the youngest in the field and currently has 100% strike rate, 2 from 2 clears. Do you feel any pressure going into the ring?
No pressure. I have a really special horse. It's only 9 years old, so everything can happen. He is able to do that. He has all the scope, he has a lot of blood, he's willing to do that. But it's a new step for him. So first time like outside, big grass ring, open water, everything is new for him. So yeah, I'm looking forward to go into the ring, but everything can happen.
And to give the listeners a bit of an idea at home, I was explaining that this arena isn't flat. So when you jump the water, it's slightly downhill coming to the planks. That makes it more difficult.
Yes, for sure. So you have a big oxer just before the open water. You have a longer distance. So and then you have a short distance to this plank, 160.
With a white rail as well?
Right rail, flat cups, so they have to be very, very focused. The rideability has to be perfect, and yeah, that's the Grand Prix. That's a 5-star Grand Prix that you have to do. So nothing, no surprise.
And do you think this distance from the water to the plank is set? What is it? Is it 5?
It's 5, very long.
Okay.
I think for the most riders will be 6,
yeah.
But it's very short. But I think right now, from walking point of view, it's the best option.
And from the horse's point of view, that's where your trainability and rideability to be able to get them to go from a big open gallop in 6 strides to shorten up. That's the challenge of training them, isn't it?
Exactly. Like the control is the base of everything. So if you train well, if you have the options, you can present or you can put the horse in the best possible position if you have the options. And here we can see today if we have the options.
Well, and interestingly as well, towards the end of the course, fence 11, 12 and 13, it's slightly uphill. And as you said, the treble, that's power, isn't it? It's all power jumping and how much engine is left in the tank.
Yeah, exactly. So that is really clever made. So you have long forward distance downhill, and you have 2 fences. You have a big triple bar just before, and then already when you're a little bit on reserve, you have the triple, you have the big oxer in the middle, another oxer, and the last 2 fences, wide oxer, second last, and 4 strides short, vertical into the corner. So has to be everything under control, and you need the last power.
Do you get nervous or excited at this point?
Nervous? No, normally not. I'm looking forward. I try my best. I try to be very focused and warm up, very concentrated, and give the best possible chance to my horse. So I have to be focused and ride well. So that's all I can do.
Brilliant. Christian, thank you so much.
Very welcome.
Thank you so much to Frankie and to Christian Ahlmann. Frankie was really getting she was milking that. She's getting every piece of information out of that there.
She was. It was really interesting though. It's really good to hear a rider like him talk through exactly where the challenges are, you know, that open water to the plank. It's quite a classic question, isn't it? And as she said, it's all about the adaptability, but really interesting to hear Christian talk it through. Yeah, absolutely. And I know, if I know Frankie, I know she's thinking about her horses and how they'd be jumping that. So she's asking the questions from that point of view. Absolutely 100%. A little bit more analysis now before we head down to the sport. Things still going on in the arena, as you could see there behind Frankie and Christian. Actually, we want to talk about Christian a little bit more now and about Applebridge Tag Z. This is the young horse he was telling us about. And we want to bring up the favourite versus the form, because this is where our 2 riders will go.
go head-to-head. In DSP, Shira'aa, obviously piloted there by Andre Thiemer and Applebridge, as we said. Now, that is an interesting set of stats there, Hannah.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I think for me, you probably have to ask yourself, when Applebridge Tag Z is as experienced as DSP Shira'aa, will the numbers then look a little bit more similar? Potentially, but obviously the initial potential as a 9-year-old is certainly there, and the sky seems to be the limit with these initial numbers for Christian's horse. But DSP Shira'aa is so experienced to actually jump 55% of the time clear over 60 rounds is huge. You know, you can look at all of the courses from all of these different competitions across the globe. They're all very challenging, they're all very difficult. Christian Ahlmann has ridden in an enormous today's competition saying, it's a tough one today. So sometimes these riders are looking at these tracks and saying they're quite tough. So that level of clear rate over that number of rounds is huge, in my opinion. You know, with 55% over 60 rounds. That is something incredibly impressive. I mean, it's got to be one of the best in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. That's when you break that down to that combination, of course, and that is why they come in there with those red-hot stats, and potentially as with the... Interesting to note, and Christian pointed to this, Applebridge obviously young in terms of the experience, young in terms of age, just a 9-year-old. This is a young horse when it comes to the top level of show jumping. So couldn't be more perfect that you are paired up with someone like Christian Ahlmann to come in here today to have an experience around this incredible track in front of this kind of crowd in this atmosphere. So that will be super, super interesting day in the main arena then. We want to have a look at what might happen if we get to this jump off. Now, EquiRatings have predicted that we'll see 10 combinations from the 50 go into a jump off scenario. Let's have a look at who would be dangerous if we found them then, who you wouldn't want to be staring down the barrel of if you were riding into that jump off there. Again, some real superstar performers, Hannah.
Very much so. We've pulled out a couple of these already, so they're the kind of obvious ones, I guess. You know, you see the 67% and 75% jump off clear rates there. René Dittmer, an interesting one, and of course the man whose picture is there on the left-hand side. I've seen him win jump offs before, and I know it sounds strange, he's an incredibly tall man, and I think sometimes when you see him ride, it's almost quite surprising just how fast he can be in a jump off, because he obviously or taller horses, but they've got that ground cover. And in a ring like this, that could be really, really useful. So 67% is his jump off clear rate so far. Also, of course, Cian O'Connor there. We mentioned earlier that Kentucky TN is really, really consistent. Also, British rider Samuel Dahan, it feels like in a lot of his competitions, he's either there or thereabouts, and once he gets into the jump off, he can really go for it, and he can be a really fantastic jump off rider. So it'd be great to see him get the clear, but he either seems to get into the jump off, do really well, or just edge out, just one fence down, or just one for time, or something like that. So it'd be lovely to see him perform well. And you can see the 100% clear rate with this horse. It's obviously also really got the potential. Tom Watchman down there at the bottom as well. Again, another 100% clear rate. So some very talented but less experienced horses going up against very experienced combinations, I think, is what to take from this.
Yeah, and interesting that this will really kick off the summer and the rest of the year full of incredible competitions, as we say, incredibly important year. Frankie talked about this earlier. We will have a World Championships this year. It will be in Aachen in August, in that magnificent grass stadium. We will nominations. A lot of these riders and horses will be proving a point, and proving that point, it starts now, doesn't it? Right at the start of summer.
Absolutely, it really does. You know, as you say, they need to be able to prove that they're good on a similar kind of stage, a similar what they'll be doing here this week. Literally the same turf in terms of being in Germany, but you know, the bigger grass rings, very different to, say, the last World Championships, which of course was indoors. Totally different environment, and the selectors will be starting to look at these combinations now. And also, I think some of these riders will be thinking, how does my talented up-and-coming horse perform on this kind of stage as well? So quite a lot going on there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had a look at who we think would be dangerous in a jump off. Let's have a look then at the win chances, because this is what you need to know if you're going to put your money down today, folks. If you're having a little quiet bet at home, then this is important information for you. A lot of the combinations there we've talked about today, obviously Corsica X and Renee Dittmer. You've seen a lot of that combo, Hannah, and they have been incredible. We've spoken about Apple. And a young horse, absolutely top level, but where they have taken the experience, they have been standout performers. Durrett, someone, you know, this horse is something we love to see Marlon Madola Zanatelli out about. We love to see him competing, and we will love to see Durrett in the arena today. And what we can't deny there, at 9%, right at the top of things, is DSP Shakaria.
Yeah, that certainly has got to be the top name to watch. That's a very strong win chance, and we've talked about them as being the favourites. Plenty, though, on that list that could challenge. We haven't talked too much about Mark, and one that's often been consistent, but still fifth there on the list of those with a good win chance. And of course, this win chance combines their performance in jump-off rounds as well. So can they get to the jump-off, and then once they're there, how do they execute that round? The accuracy with the speed as well, and all of these combinations on our top list have got the potential to do that for sure.
It's important to say, when I was talking about Marlon Madola Zanatelli there with Durrett, that you can see there on those numbers, that's a 0%. The Equestrian guys have flagged this as an interesting data point because they have an 8% win chance and a 757. That is fantastic. The ELO rating, really interesting scoring if you dig into that as well, folks at home. It's something used in various different sort of sports and gaming. It's a rating that we use also that the Eq ratings use in show jumping. So yeah, 0 from 2 clear rounds at this level, but an 8% win chance here today. So a really very interesting sort of little factor there. Again, maybe our dark horse today as we head into, if you're putting your money about this lovely horse in Apple Bridge, it could be a star of the future as we start to look at things. In terms of the win chances, Hannah, and yeah, as we say, certainly plenty to come out of Hamburg because this big show on grass, we've got on grass across the course of the weekend, across the world. This is the one obviously that we focus on today, but this is where things really kick off for the summer and start to look super interesting as we head into quite a season of show jumping and to a huge World Championships at the end of the summer. We are getting towards the now, getting ready to get to the sport, but we wanted to quickly go to Frankie, who's going to give us an update from the side of the arena.
Thanks, Amy. Yeah, I am by no means an expert here in the 5. And I think what I found really interesting is that the riders literally have 30 minutes. They have 30 minutes to see this course for the first time. They're walking it non-stop. Lots of them use different techniques to note things down. Going on, there's really loud music, lots of spectators swarming in, so getting yourself in that professional mindset to try and stay really focused and plan your ride on your specific horse isn't something that's easy. A lot of, there goes the bell, that's signifying the riders that they have to clear the arena because they'll be getting ready for the first horse to come in soon. So those first few riders will already be warming up. As I said, the warm-up arena is only about 50 metres away and they have to ride through the middle of the trade stands, which is a challenge in itself for some of these horses and atmosphere. And then they come in here, it feels like I can see a massive dark cloud over my shoulder and it feels like it might rain. So the next time you see me, I might be dressed totally differently. This class is going to be really exciting, really challenging. First time this year on grass that the riders get a feel for how their horses are feeling and whether they can be aiming towards the World Equestrian Games or whether they can clinch that big prize here this weekend.
Oh, fab. Good luck, Frankie. I hope she doesn't get caught in that downpour. It will be really interesting to see as the sport unfolds over the course of the afternoon, if the weather does play a factor, Hannah. We're going to stay in the studio. We'll be catching up with you throughout the afternoon, of course. If you're watching on YouTube now or you're watching on the Clip My Horse 24/7 channel, switch over to the Clip My Horse TV subscription platform and jump onto the live commentator John Kyle to take you through all of the action.
You choose where to watch, at home or on the go. Clip My Horse TV streams on all your devices. Experience the best in equestrian sport, anytime, anywhere. Horses, sport, entertainment.
So welcome here to the Derby Park in Klein-Flottbeck, Hamburg, as we get ready for the 5-star Longines Grand Prix of Hamburg. A field of 50 that have been put together over the Grand Prix qualification series here over the past 2 days, and really, really interesting competitions as we've been talking about in the in-out studio. Some of the aspects to the courses here designed by Olaf Pedersen Jr. have been, for sure, that they are big, for sure that they are using this huge arena to its maximum. We're coming out probably here in Europe on grass for pretty much the first time this season, certainly at this highest level. But the time allowed, particularly at the 5-star level, have been tight. They have been close in rounds, either in the Championat or in yesterday's Deutsches Creditbank competition on the jump-off with the time penalties. So we'll see whether that plays out here today. For sure, they will have got that message. For sure,